Welcome to Unedited, our fortnightly podcast where we explore the opportunities and challenges that the retail industry is facing. From fashion, beauty, and homeware, myself, Grace Hill, will be chatting to the leading experts in the industry to shed light on how retailers can create a brighter future. So, over the past year, we've seen a reckoning for greater representation and emphasis on self-care that have set the wheels in motion for defining a new phase within the beauty industry. According to the research firm Euromonitor International, the pandemic and wellness boom has fueled this growth, with the global haircare market growing 2.4% last year, reaching a worth of $79.9 billion. So today, as well as it's the end of AAPI month in the US, to celebrate, we wanted to educate our listeners on South Asian beauty hair care. That's why today we are excited to speak to the dynamic sibling duo that is Akash and Nikita Mehta, founders of Fable Mane. For those of you that don't know, Fable Mane are a modern wellness, hair wellness brand that is built on potent plant-based products inspired by ancient Indian beauty secrets. Hi, Nikki and Akash. It's lovely to see you both again. How are you?
Very
really
well,
good.
thank you.
Really good.
Thanks so much for having us, and for me to be back again on Unedited Podcast. It was a huge pleasure the first time. So to be back again is like a double bonus. So thank you so much.
Well, no, thank you for returning. I was going to say, some of our listeners, you may recognize Akash, as he has been on one of our previous episodes. But where are you guys at the moment? What are you up to?
So we're currently, we actually
Italy.
just escaped London. We went to Italy for a bit of a business trip. We'll be coming back in a few days, but that's the best thing is it kind of business trips with my sister is always also like a bit of a holiday because family bonding. So it's great.
And we'll head over to the mountains on the weekend. So that'll be
how amazing.
I love hiking.
Yeah, I feel like as well, just to get a change of scenery. Sadly, no mountains in London, right?
No, exactly.
But I feel like so much has changed, Akash, especially since we last spoke, right? It was, who knew that coronavirus was going to be a thing? So how have you both been over the past year? What have you kind of been up to?
Yeah, I think it's been kind of a bit of a whirlwind of different emotions. Of course, it's very tragic and sad what's happening in the world. And that's definitely stifled some of our, we had plans to travel and especially with our businesses, but at the same time, going to that business side of things has really made us focus a lot more on the business, work a lot more as well. And it's in a way kind of been a bit of a blessing for our Fable Mane, which is our Indian wellness brand, because it's all about at-home rituals. And as salons have closed and people are really going further into their well-being, we've seen a huge interest in the business.
I can imagine. And obviously, I'm very lucky that I got introduced to both of you guys through our mutual friend Georgie. And you've obviously been on incredible journeys with both of your careers across luxury retail and now getting to be kind of a dynamic sibling duo and, obviously running your own hair care brand, Fable Mane. But I guess for our listeners, it would be great for them to learn a little bit more about your career backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly. So I graduated, I was with Georgie, obviously at uni and UCL and in Spanish and business management. And then I ended up doing the computer science course.
So she ended up changing her course.
I do still speak Spanish, but I changed to computer science. Gosh, that was like 8 years ago now. But I joined our family business in fragrance. So building premium fragrance brands such as Jean Patou, Worth Paris, so a lot of heritage brands and celebrity fragrance brands too. So I really learned the power of storytelling and marketing and working with some of the best retailers.
And my journey, I think, as I kind of said on my last podcast as well, I started on a very different route to Nikki. I studied engineering at university, but I went straight into the corporate world. I worked for Estee Lauder companies. Well, first Burberry in an internship. I worked for Estee Lauder companies and then Dior in Paris for 3 years. But it was actually during my time at Dior, Nikki and I were started working in the kitchen, thinking about this potential business we were going to create together called Fable Mane, which we can talk about in a bit. But it's after a year or two of really working with the labs, we decided to leave our different paths of careers behind us and work together to build and launch this.
Must have been so exciting, right? Having the experience and the background that you both had to then, kind of embark on that entrepreneurial journey and kind of being able to work together with that. So what led you to founding your very own brand?
Honestly, it was like a journey, I guess, with my own hair and self-confidence. I had like 3 years ago, a lot of hair falling out and kind of affects your, when you see clumps of hair and in the shower, and then went back to the kitchen. I remember our grandma's recipes, like she used to mix coconut oil with ashwagandha and like massage it into her hair. So I tried and tested all these different herbs and could see over time the hair loss stopping. And it was just something that we did always as a child, like growing up as a ritual. And we wanted to say, why is this not made into, we just saw a market for clean, cultural and, conscious brand. And why was this not done in a modern way for all hair types, and how come everyone didn't know this Indian hair secret? So that was kind of like the burning, our pain point. And then my brother and I joined forces and came up with the name Fable Mane and worked on this, the whole universe.
Absolutely. So what was the inspiration behind the name?
Yeah, so I mean, Fable Mane came around our own childhood memories. So our grandma used to come from India with these incredible Ayurvedic plant roots and Indian herbal oils and make these, we would call them magical hair potions in the kitchen. And she would massage these oils into her hair, usually at night. And while she would massage these oils on a weekly basis, she used to tell us incredible fables. So story time and hair care were really hand in hand for us growing up. So therefore, Fable and Mane, Fable for story and Mane for hair, came around. We wanted something that was very kind of catchy, easy to understand, and for everyone to feel connected to, because not only is it familiar in Indian households, but a lot of other households or other different cultures and heritages. So it's something I think story time and rituals is something everyone can relate to, especially now with beauty.
Definitely. I feel like, as you guys said, right, like even though coronavirus was a difficult time and a really difficult time for business, but the fact that it was also a time to step back, take time back for yourself, and how that's so important to you guys and your brand. So as we kind of mentioned briefly, you launched the business right before the pandemic hit in 2020. So I'm sure you guys have had some pretty major learnings, like many brands have that we have spoken to. So how did your backgrounds in luxury retail help build this business during such a tumultuous time?
So I think the one thing is it was definitely a challenge. We had to adapt and be agile from day one, but in the sense, because it was day one, that was sort of like a blessing as well, because we could launch already with that mindset that this is going to be more of a digital launch. It's going to be more of an online presence as opposed to physical events and in-store being the main focus. So we're very fortunate to launch with Sephora from day one. We messaged them on LinkedIn a year ago to launch, and they were in love with the concept, and we started building the project with them. So we knew from day one we would have a strong retail presence, and therefore the acceleration needed to be in the same kind of presence as them and to do that justice. However, one thing I think my corporate journey has really taught us, especially me specifically, was that digital side of the business. And I was trained in digital marketing for 5 years, 6 years. So it was sort of very native to me to think online first. I think that really helped the business from day one stand out strong on social with influencers, with our D2C as well.
And Google Ads.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it makes total sense, right? That's your
I love how Nikki literally just, I say everything, Nikki, and Google Ads. I don't think she really understands what Google Ads is. You can tell we have our separate remits, which makes for a healthy business.
Yeah, totally. No, to have different responsibilities. So I mean, that I'd love to know what kind of responsibilities do each of you have ownership over?
Yes, I'm definitely more on the creative and product side. So like the
Amazing.
branding, naming, all the product
all the products you see and the names and stuff, that's all Nikki. She's a creative genius behind the brand. She's a creative director. I'm the CEO, so I'm more managing the day-to-day team, building it, getting the financial planning, P&L, plus the digital side of things. So Matt's my engineering with the math and finance, with the engineering side is with the whole digital side is where I kind of put my expertise in.
But I guess both of you I know you're both extremely creative, but also, you know, kind of your computer science background, Nikki, and then your engineering background, like both sides of your brains are pretty impressive to have the kind of combination of those skills. So now that lockdowns are easing in both the US and the UK, what kind of interaction and engagement are you guys seeing with the brand? Are consumers still interested in low maintenance at-home hair care that was made popular during the pandemic?
Definitely. I mean, definitely from the numbers and also just the interest to, you know, we look at a lot of the, apart from numbers and analytics, we look at that intent, and that's where we kind of analyze our messages we're getting on email, on social media. We're seeing a lot of people definitely consistently staying to that kind of well-being. It's not now become a routine. It's become a kind of instilled mindset into their daily life. We are seeing though a lot more of the shift starting with in-store presence, in-store sales are picking up. We're also starting to hopefully launch soon some events and pop-up events. That's like the first time in America we're starting with first.
Amazing.
But there is a still sense of uncertainty. There is still a sense of we're not putting all our eggs yet on these baskets that we haven't yet tapped into, because we're not sure, you know, even though things are, you know, now we're also hearing there's a new variant and stuff. We're still trying to be agile and smart, because unfortunately, when people don't realize with beauty businesses and most businesses is things take a lot of planning. You need to plan months and months in advance and put deposits in really early on. So, you know, we're already planning for next year's launches. And if we're going to do an event, a pop-up event, we got to think about it 6 months or 4 months at least before. So that's why it's a little bit risky to like start putting deposits in for a big amount and then not having to change it last minute again.
Very uncertain.
Yeah. Totally. And I guess that takes a lot of time and energy from your guys' side, when actually, until you have more certainty, you want to be focusing on those elements that you know will be able to execute and kind of have an impact. Hence the kind of digital side. I guess also really exciting for you both, where you have been digital first for kind of the first year, really, mainly of your guys' brand's existence, and like what the potential will be for your business when you have more of that omni-channel approach and multi-channel opportunities, I guess.
I mean, the great thing as well is because we're a hair care brand, I do feel we don't necessarily need to have that same compared to other beauty pillars of like, let's say fragrance or makeup, where you really want to, or skincare, when you want to see the efficacy, you want to touch it, you want to smell it. With hair, usually people can really buy into transformation, storytelling online, and then they don't really go to a store and like, you know, need to smell the shampoo or pick it up and try it on and lather it. So we're quite fortunate where we can be very digital first and even have a successful business just in this pillar. And I think because it's growing so quickly, exactly to your point earlier, it's been quite interesting for us to like decide, like, you know, if we have any of these funds, do we accelerate even further our digital presence and do more ads and more influencers and more social media expansion or virtual events, you know, and get more people around the world? Or do we do a localized event, you know, for 20 people that look cool, spend a lot of money, but only like few people can enjoy? So it is sort of like maybe the whole industry has shifted, and what was normalized before is actually not what we shouldn't do. We should be doing like catch up and forward thinking as opposed to going backwards, but maybe, you know.
No, definitely. I guess it's the opportunity to try different things, right? The kind of the rule books you've thrown out the window, and it's time to break those barriers and try something new. So Akash and Nikki, I know obviously you guys are only 1 year into kind of launching the brand, but you've not only launched in the UK and the US, but you've also launched in other European regions too. Can you tell us a little bit more about the learnings that you found there and the nuances across, over the past year with different rules, regulations, and cases with coronavirus?
Definitely. So with us, it's kind of been a very interesting journey because we started with the biggest giants in retail, which is Sephora. And most beauty brands, especially the ones starting out, would say, you're daft to go out of Sephora. Just focus on that for a couple of years and nurture that relationship. And USA is a huge market. Mm-hmm. I think we've always been, as my sister said before, with our father being in the beauty industry, and we've had that international mindset from our father, but also from us being travel addicts and seeing the world. And with social media, you can't limit who sees your content, especially with influencers, especially with viral content. And from day one, we went viral on TikTok quite early on, and we saw a lot of different types of countries and different types of people from all over the world asking for the products. And I felt like, if we can expand, obviously there are some different difficulties, but if we owe it to consumers around the world to give access to this product. So that's why we kind of went in a different route. We were like, let's go to the main markets internationally, especially Europe, UK, and we definitely want India as well and Asia. But then with coronavirus, there are further implications that I think are really difficult to launch at this current time with trade restrictions, etc. But what we found the best route was going with some trusted retailers in those divisions. So while we tried to get D2C strong and ship into this market, we're relying on relevant retailers with the expertise, with the whole trade, legality, import, tax, etc., to help us as a new business to get that footprint. So we're really proud to be at Boots in the UK and Ireland. We are in Douglas in Germany, Netherlands, Austria, and Poland. But very soon we'll be hopefully launching in new retailers like Sephora in Europe, Douglas, and maybe an online retailer too that you'll play that you would know which is very excited about.
Oh my gosh, so many exciting plans to look forward to. I guess I'm curious, like you mentioned, obviously going viral on TikTok. Like, what regions did you see interacting on that platform, or consumers in those regions that you maybe were most surprised about or excited about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, every region you could think of, that was the craziest. We had the main markets, which we have, but even today, I still see Iran, Peru,
Wow.
South Africa. I see, you see countries all over the world, and it's such a, I kind of wish there was a company, maybe it's another business, and one day in the future, like someone who can help FMCG goods expand globally very quickly, because if you've got the stock sitting somewhere, is there someone who can just say, look, I'll get it all over the world for you without all these shipping costs and tariffs and duties and sending it back and, all this stuff. It's a very hard feat, of course, but it's such a shame that people, especially during a pandemic when they can't travel in any way, go to Sephora in USA during their trips. They're stuck in their hometown and they want to get products and they can't get it anywhere. And some of these people are willing to pay whatever. They don't mind paying the shipping cost just to get it. And if you can't deliver it, you feel guilt. So it's definitely been, especially with India, as we're an Indian heritage brand, it's our main mission now to get live there with a big retailer, which we're working with right now. So
it's really interesting you actually mentioned that, and the logistics of connecting FMCG brands with a different set of consumers, and how kind of just generally the logistics behind it can be really what's stopping it. A friend of mine runs a company called the Baobab Network, and he invests in African startup and scale up businesses. And one of the businesses that they invested in at the start was a logistics company in Nigeria, and helping FMCG brands connect with mama and papa shops, and how that has just exploded as an opportunity. And I think it just demonstrates, right, that there is so much opportunity in that space in connecting different consumers who may not have previously had access to those certain types of brands. I guess, like, you've obviously mentioned working with Sephora, Boots, like the biggest beauty players in UK and the US markets. What are kind of the benefits and opportunities of having those partnerships, would you say?
I think it's amazing real estate. Like, they just have such good connections to people. And also, I think they just have an incredible opportunity to scale an amazing database of consumers. especially for a new brand, and they know how to support founder-led brands. So really the best partner, and it's a, like Akash said, it's a vehicle to launch globally. I feel the rest of the world kind of still looks up to the US in terms of trends, and it helps
Sephora, yeah,
especially Sephora, and it helps open doors.
I can imagine
retailers, they kind of come to us
and the thing is, even saying the word retailer, it's actually very odd, because even we feel internally like it's not really a retailer. We call them a family because they truly are. They've really helped us build the brand. We go with names and they give us feedback. We send them samples before we even show if we like it, and then they give us. They're really an extension of the team, and it is. We've worked with many other retailers around the world, and there's no one truly like Sephora. Truly speaking.
Yeah.
I can imagine. It was, obviously, Akash, thank you so much for your connection to Julian, who is the founder of Adjua Beauty. And she was talking a lot about Sephora and the opportunities that it's led for her business. And it sounds like a fantastic partnership. And as you said, almost like having those trusted advisors, the fact that they've worked with hundreds, not thousands of different brands during their time, and really are experts in that field. So I guess in terms of the beauty, we know we've seen in the past decade the popularity of many East Asian beauty regimens seeping into Western culture, most notably K-beauty in recent years. So how did you guys identify the gap in the market for more South Asian beauty products? I know you'd mentioned obviously your family connection and your upbringing, but how did you kind of realize that this was something that wasn't offered?
Yeah, it just really wasn't there. Like there was either Ayurvedic side, but it just wasn't done in a very modern way, and really hard to understand. There were some brands like Aveda, obviously, which is from Ayurveda, but I feel like haven't really strayed. They've drifted away from what the core was, which was Ayurveda. So we just saw a gap for really good products at a really affordable price as well, for like premium hair care, whereas you would have like oils and stuff at mass market level, like £4, £5, but they would just not have the modern science,
But I also think like some of these brands like Nikki's referring to, they were just staying within the realms of India. They were in the retail shelves there. They weren't breaking through to them.
Right.
You would still not go to Boots and find a South Asian drugstore brand. No. You wouldn't go to Boots and find a South Asian premium drug. But
in India, they work so well, obviously, and
we would stock up in India, and we would go to India and stock up.
And it's like, why was this not available in the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we were like, we'll try to be the first, and actually, going to Sephora as one of the main point, as we keep on saying, we probably feel people get paid by them because we love them so much. But honestly, we're the first Indian hair care brand that they've ever launched in Sephora, and the first sibling founded brand, which I don't know if that's a reason why, but it's true that we're glad to be the first to carve the way for more South Asian brands.
Definitely. And tell us a little bit more. I know, Nikki, you mentioned your experience and like obviously mixing different herbs and kind of trying to find what was working for you and what was having the greatest impact. But what are some of your core ingredients in your products, but also the process that separates kind of South Asian hair care and beauty products from other brands and rituals that we may be more accustomed to in Western culture?
Yes, I'll focus on the hair oil because I feel it's our hero as well. So we have ashwagandha, which is a strengthening adaptogen. So it kind of adapts to your scalp's needs. And it means strength of a stallion. So it's really good for strengthening hair as well. But what makes Indian hair oils different to normal hair oils is that they're herbalized. So they're cooked for like 8 hours on low heat, and then herbs are added in and simmered, and they're left overnight, then cooled down, then applied to your hair. So it's almost like how you make, a really nice in India and northern India, they make a black dal and they leave it on the stove in the clay pot overnight, and it gives you that really earthy taste. In a similar way, like how you cook, they literally cook these herbs in coconut oil or sesame oil and fractionate it. And there's a specific way, specific proportions, and they balance it. And of course, in the factories today, they don't make it like that. So that's what makes them so special, because they absorb all the nutrients and they hold it in. Otherwise, we lose all the goodness. So there's a specific way to make Ayurveda, and our concentrate hopefully will bring that out in a few years, because it's really bringing consumers back to the product.
And I think another thing I would add as well is a lot of South Asian, I'm very familiar with K-beauty, J-beauty.
Yeah.
There are a lot of very diverse beauty kind of now coming to the forefront with the market, which is really great. But I also with Ayurveda especially, it's a 4,000-year-old science. So I do think it's one of the most, the eldest rituals and that have been passed down by generations, which often do tell something, because there is a reason why they've lasted for so long and haven't kind of and actually in this authentic roots, it hasn't really adapted too much. It's really what it was, is really what it is today. And that's the best part. But I also think alongside those past and traditions, you have two key kind of tethered points that make it so different. One is the vast encyclopedia of Indian plants and ingredients that are normally rooted within the climate and the landscape of India as a territory, is number one, where you find most of these in this country. But the second thing is the fact that you mixed it with, as Nikki said, the processes, but also with the ritual. So once you've got the thing, it's really about the massaging, the meditation, the mindfulness, that 360 holistic belief, because that's also what tethers to Ayurveda, which means Ayur, and Veda means we had this whole thing before. So Ayur means life and Veda means the science or knowledge. But we did a live stream before and I said that, and Nikki was like, no. Veda means this and Ayur means this. And I sat there and I was like, no, it's not. And then we were literally live and I was like, I was right, thank God. But
you have to bring it up all the time.
Yeah, just as
now, once you make a mistake live, you won't make it again. So it's even we forget sometimes. But basically, means knowledge of life or the science of life. So it's that 360 holistic route of how you work with everything.
Exactly, and like as you guys said, it's like the ritual of it and how that speaks to the holistic approach. And I know that's something that's really important to your guys' brand. But obviously you've mentioned, am I saying it right? Ayurvedic?
Perfect.
Ayurvedic. I even had to do a classic YouTube. How do you pronounce it? I'm very familiar with the term, but how often do you actually say it out loud?
No, exactly.
And it's so embarrassing.
And it's hard, even for us, like the Vata.
I mean, even we get the meaning wrong sometimes, and that's also going to Nikki's point, is we wanted to make it accessible and then on that journey learn together, because even we're learning, we've learned this all from our childhood memories, but it's taught to us by the textbook definitions. It was taught to us as a way of life. Our grandma just was like, I understood it as the yellow magic potion or whatever, or there's that smelly oil, and it was amazing. We didn't understand what it was and what was Vata Pitta Kapha, what was all the doshas, what all the chakra points, the Sahasrara crown chakra, all this stuff we learned as we started to build the brand even. So it's a journey, and I think we make mistakes, everyone will make mistakes, and that's the whole point, is learning together.
Absolutely. So I guess, what would you say for our listeners are like the core principles that they need to understand about Ayurvedic hair care, or just kind of practice in general, would you say?
So I would hair oiling, so which is sneha, which means to love and to oil your hair. So the act of massaging your hair, like pre-wash as a treatment, is really good, because in Ayurveda we believe our hair and our whole body is an energy system, right? So if you think of your head as a plant, right, and your roots are at the top, the more you nourish it and hydrate it with oils, the better your scalp will be, which is skin, and a good scalp is a foundation for healthy hair.
Well, that leads me on. Well, I was going to ask about scalp care, but I guess before I get onto that, right, I feel like there's this myth of scalp and oils and contributing to greasy hair, which I know is a huge thing. I
mean, our scalps, we do produce natural oils, right? So we don't want to clog it. So that's why a pre-wash treatment is only designed to be left in overnight or an hour before washing. You rinse and then you shampoo and cleanse, as normal. But for sure, like, you shouldn't put too much oil in your hair, because it can you don't want to like clog it, and that can lead to build up. But you shouldn't have any silicones, because that will not penetrate or just coat. So that's why it's really important if you use hair oiling, it's herbal and not loaded with silicones, because that can lead to damage. And also, I would say, it's just the scalp and everything. You just have to think of everything holistically,
and we forget, like, the scalp is your skin, and you put so much effort, usually people, on your face and your neck and your body, and we also put effort on our hair with styling products and stuff. But what about that skin that lies under the hair? Scalp is getting a moment now. I think for the last few months, it's been on a year, been really a big thing, but still people are worried about, like, I've got itchy scalp, I think I've got an itchy scalp, I don't know if it's irritations, I've got sensitive scalp. But the thing is, what's really important is why we always go back to this hair oiling is honestly one of the most perfect remedies, with an oiling meaning with the massage, right? Because it basically rejuvenates the scalp and it really restores the balance that the scalp needs, because we often it's like a roller coaster, you can fix it, but it will go back again.
It enhances blood circulation, oxygen to your brain, so that's the main thing. But
oxygen and nutrients,
but the main thing is Indian hair oils and ingredients have ingredients which are great for oily scalps and itchy dry scalps, such as neem, bringraj, amla, which is a very potent form of vitamin C, which is the Indian gooseberry, and the neem leaf, which is antifungal and anti-inflammatory, like turmeric. So these are fantastic if you have oily scalps. It's actually a remedy, even though it's in an oil format.
That's, I mean, it's so interesting, right? And like, and as you said, Akash, like the scalp is having a moment. I think Cult Beauty saw a 330% increase in sales of scalp care products. Like, why do you think that now is its moment, and why has it come into focus?
I'm gonna give a span in the works. I think it's to do with TikTok. I honestly think it's to do with the fact that scalp was always essayed or very complicated. And what has happened now is ephemeral content of TikTok and the reels and stories. People are educating people on scalp health and scalp care so quickly, so easily, in a very simplified way that I never had it before. And it was me educating when I was looking at scalp videos on TikTok, and also sometimes that, seeing like the scalp of cameras and you see how bad it is before and after, you start realizing it, and people are not afraid now anymore. It's not something that's, it's dirty, I don't want to talk about scalp. It's getting a moment of it's proud to talk about your scalp. But
I don't think it's like just TikTok. Like for a lot of people who aren't on TikTok but know about scalp care, it's exactly what Akash said. It's just the how we used to be scared of putting oil in our body, or didn't know about exfoliating our body, or like all these things. And our scalp scrubs, we're just thinking of our scalp differently and different targeted concerns, and that's what's going to happen to the future of hair. Wellness is becoming part of it, and you're going to think, oh, actually my scalp is quite dry, do I need a scrub? Or if I have an oily scalp, do I need like a clay mask? What should I be putting?
And I think it's the brands that are also pushing it, right? It's the beauty brands that are creating more scalp care ranges that are also then pushing the messages to their existing audiences. So someone who's bought them from the shampoo or the oil, and now I've seen, they've got a new scalp range. I love the brand, let me try the scalp range. So they're also the influencers in a way too, right? These brands.
Okay. And Nikki, I love what you said there. Like, okay, is my scalp feeling this? Like, do I need a clay mask, or do I need oil? And it's like, I think it's just educating yourself and acquainting yourself with your scalp, right?
Exactly.
I'm like, I have no idea what my scalp's feeling like today. Does it feel any different? But I feel like I probably need to get to know it better.
Becoming aware of it. Yeah.
Definitely. And as you said, the health benefits that brings, and kind of just the fact that we're educating ourselves, whether that is through TikTok because you've got digestible content that's easy to access, or whether that's the fact that you've got brands like yourself who are talking about it and talking about the benefits that will give you. But as you guys are experts in the industry, I'd love to know from your perspective, are there any big trends within hair care and the wellness market that our listeners really should know about?
I think definitely one of the biggest trends, well, I think we already spoke about it, is scalp health. Yeah, that's number one. I think right now is definitely the one that they're talking about. Then I think it's about understanding the different types of hair in the market, and how you have textured hair, afro hair, you have the thin hair, flake, all those types of different types of hair. I think is super important, because even though we formulated our products initially, our first range to be for all hair types, because that's led on the ingredient side of things, we are obviously going to be creating more products for specific hair types, because not one kind of product can fit all sometimes in the future. So I think that's something that it's very interesting to know it, like from a, like my dad always talks about DNA, right? And I think the future of beauty will always be on this fact of you need to have something a little bit more personalized to you, because it's not like if it works for someone else, it might not work for you. Even if you look like you have same hair, your DNAs are different, right? So I think that's something I think is going to be a bit of the science side, the next trends.
I think skinification of hair in one sentence, and on the wellness side, supplements.
Totally. I actually just started taking Simprove every morning. I don't know, but I feel like it's just interesting, right? Like that's not a product that I would have ever had as like a probiotic in my, my daily routine. I think it's like something that.
Does it have like zinc or biotin or anything in it which will help hair?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. But I have noticed a really an improvement on my skin. I guess it comes back to gut health, right? And how actually it's such an important part of
the microbiome. Your scalp microbiome is.
And one thing we realize is with the microbiome, your gut health is how that so connected to everything. Like you could have a blocked ear, and you're always thinking your whole life is to do with it's to do with allergy or something, but it's actually your gut, or something is not going with your gut. And I think that whole thing, everyone says, I'm bloating. It's like, it's probably just your gut's not going well with something, that you're not having any intolerances, no allergies, it's just your gut.
Totally. I think it's interesting. It comes back to kind of that whole holistic thing, and like how everything is connected. And
I would advise everyone to take there are one company is called Viome, Viome, so a friend of our father's, and you can get a test where you send a sample of your stool, and you literally will get a full list in an app of what you should avoid, what you should encourage, eat more of. And I've done, allergy tests, I've done intolerance tests, and this is something like, they had mango on there, which I eat every day. And it was so interesting to see what's not good for my gut. So I think microbiome tests are the future for everyone to try. And it connects to the beauty regime, the hair, it connects to everything.
Did you say it was Viome?
Viome, Viome.
Oh my goodness, well, I'll have to check that out too. But I personally saw this and was really excited for you guys, because I feel very emotionally invested in the brand. But I saw that Kourtney Kardashian obviously featured Fable Mane products in her Poosh bundles. Could you kind of, and I know, Akash, this is a huge part of your kind of experience and career is influencers, but could you talk us through how you've worked with influencers and what your guys' strategy is for Fable Mane?
No, definitely. So it's definitely, we do have that tiered approach of like working with all types of influencers from all different platforms and all different sizes. So I think our strongest community and our most kind of, I would say the one that we're nurturing the most is the nanos, the content creators, the micro influencers. These are the ones that are, giving reviews of the products, trying it before it goes live, and giving authentic testimonials and feedback while creating beautiful content. Then we definitely work with the micros and the top tiers on the more of the sale driving initiatives, case by case, someone in a long-term ambassadorship, someone just, kind of let's just test and see how it goes. And then obviously we've recently been doing quite a few exciting one-off moments when they come to us with the bigger players like the Kardashians. We're very Poosh bundle. She actually uses the hair oil quite a lot, so she loves the Fable Mane hair oil. So it was really nice for her to want to include us in that kind of Poosh bundle. And then of course, lots of different things are coming our way. We've been contacted by TV shows to film sets, and it's just so interesting to see. And we're trialing everything. But the best thing that we've done, I think it comes from my experience of seeing it all, is building that authentic relationship. So me and my sister will go on Zoom calls here and there with the influencers. We'll get to know them. We don't want to do this blanket like, here's a post, here's some money, go, please do this.
Send it out. And
we actually even encourage, like, first, can we just send you the product, see if you authentically love it, and then we can discuss going further. And I think that's really helped us.
I bet it's great for them as well to hear your guys' story, like your story firsthand, and kind of the passion that you have for it, and the journey that you've been on, because it is so authentic, right? And I think that stands for so much. So
I definitely think like the micro and nano influencers also have so much leverage, right? Because it's not always you have to work with like the people who have 10 million plus followers and pay so much.
And often you'll be surprised, the ones with the smaller followers will do more business impact for the brand anyway. So
ROI.
So it is really about test and learning. It is a little bit like difficult for brands today because the influencer piece can be very tricky. There can be some influencers who just want monetary benefits and don't want to care, will post as matter what the product is. There'll be some that will be authentically like, I don't want money, but I just want to love your products. And you get some in between. And I think it's hard for a brand because that they can't, it's not it's a full-time job just to do influencers, and then how to make it work. And some brands who are wanting to do it feel there's no ROI and they're losing money. Some brands are based their whole business model on influencers. So if a brand is listening, or anyone, a startup, I would just say spend that time to nurture your audience. It's not a race. It's not about doing 200, 300. You might as well do one and get the most value, and that might be equivalent of doing 200 influencers in one go. So don't compare to what other brands are doing with social media influencers. Like, do it yourself and think of it like real people that you are connecting to as a founder, as a business owner, or whatever, and nurture that relationship. Don't just force it.
I guess they're like a spokesperson for your brand, right? So
yeah, that's pretty much they are, and you want them to advocate your messages as true as possible.
Totally. And be informed and educated, and as you said, to be able to speak to it effectively and accurately. I mean, that's a great tip. I think that'll be really, really interesting for our listeners to hear, because I think it can probably feel like that pressure of being a startup business. Oh my gosh, I have to have X number of people speaking about our brands. But if they're quality over quantity, I guess, is probably the
exactly.
So from the interviews that we've had with, executives at the North Face or Marks and Spencer or Hill House Home, our guests have consistently discussed the importance of supply chain relationships within apparel. And I'd love for you guys to kind of help fill the gap here and give us some insight from a beauty perspective and angle. Like, what are the most important factors considering when looking at your partners and supply relationships generally, I guess?
So I from day one, and I think Nikki alongside me, have always believed in this conscious capitalist approach of, you want to bring everyone up with you, whether it's your team, anyone that works, who's tethered to your business, suppliers, as you said, your stakeholders, all this stuff, your purpose especially has to have the same values and have to bring everyone with you. So I think when you're working with suppliers, it's quite difficult, but see first if they have the same mission values. It sounds odd, but jump on a phone before a hardcore email and get to know, are they aligned to the mission? Do they say things that love that story? Obviously, they want to get to the cool crunks of, okay, we need to make business deals. But it's nice to make a personal connection, let them buy into that story, because that is something so important. Secondly, like if you are of someone like us, with the South Asian heritage and you have a mission behind it, currently there's that appropriation of appreciation. I think a lot of brands right now that have a clear heritage and kind of that kind of side of things, they are trying to work more with suppliers that are supporting that system. So there's a flow of giving back. So we are definitely, with Fable Mane, committed to work more and more closely with suppliers within India or of Indian, our lab in America, for example, are of Indian heritage. And I think this is so important for us to have that holistic 360 with everything. So I think that would be my best advice for anyone looking for good partner suppliers is, before anything, there's a lot of steps, but just get on a call and connect. Totally.
And when you have that relationship, you can lean on that relationship, right, in good times and bad.
And it's the suppliers like, look, I need to, I have so many clients that you just like, pause. Can I just tell you my story? And then continue that journey. But at least you've said it, and that's so important.
Totally. And I guess this is a really important question, but clean beauty is, you know, kind of a phenomenon that we've heard over a number of years, but I guess there's also that concept of being a clean beauty brand with ethics, but then also balancing the commerciality elements. And what would your tips be in, you know, when considering both of those?
It's really hard to balance commerciality sometimes because clean beauty ingredients are expensive, and that's why some of the most natural oils and everything out there it has a high price point. But you just have to know from the beginning, like I would say, if you're a startup, like know your margins, know your budget, your what your core ingredients are, what you want at active levels, and what I guess your benchmarks are of success in your arena. But always have your own like be very consistent with your internal clean promise. Doesn't matter what the retailer says. Like, for example, clean at Sephora is not silicone free, it's not 100% vegan, but that's something we have as our motto, and paraben free, sulfate free. So
you can go a step further.
We always try to what's important to you and know that and stick by that. And always even challenge the retailer too.
And notice it's a journey, like as time goes on, hopefully suppliers will get scaled and certain more recycled supply products or ingredients will become in the market more readily and will be cheaper to buy. So you can even go there over time, or start there with the intention that you'll get a cheaper price over time.
And it's not just your product, like it's your packaging, is it sustainable, eco, the whole supply chain, but shipping, is it locally sourced?
Because even that's what when we say like we want to source in India everything, we've got to counter the fact that our labs are in USA, and that carbon footprint of sending a ton of X could be opportunity cost, right? So it's a journey, but I think the best way brands can do this journey is being transparent with their consumers, and admit that we're learning, we're growing, but as long as you can see what we're doing, that's the best
and
way.
If you're initially, like, if you focus on the quality, you will scale because consumers will come back and buy it and they'll love it. So even if you forego a few years of making the best profit, it's okay, because you're building a brand. It's not about making money from day one.
And I will put a spanner in the work as well. I think like it's so important for companies to hire a clean CFO, and what I mean by this is, it's a very weird term, but I feel like CFOs are often hired with the intention of, I only care about my P&L, my budgets, my margin. That's it. And we're very fortunate to have a CFO who actually understands that, and he's so flexible but still stern and harsh when needed to be. I think I don't have to question, and I don't have to say to him, but we need to get the supply because it's all that. He kind of already says it. And I think it's good to know that he's on the same level field of the vision, because sometimes CFOs can be a bit segmented in a company, or the finance team can be like, I only see numbers, that's all I need.
Totally. That makes so much sense, right? It's like, again, building a team around you that is aligned to your mission, what you guys stand for. And as you said, like making a stand for what does your clean beauty mean for you. As you said, like there isn't a one definition, is there, for sustainability, clean beauty, whatever it is, whatever term you want to apply, and having your view of that and continuing to be consistent against that is great advice, I would say. So I guess another thing I wanted to ask about is obviously over the past year, more brands have been more vocal on, racial injustices, a variety of different, topics around diversity and inclusion. And we know that philanthropy is a huge part of Fable and Mane, brand identity. And I know that you guys, are UNICEF Global Citizens. You really are all about giving back. So could you guys give insight into how brands can stay accountable and proactive every single day?
Definitely. I think like having a mission beyond just formulating, responsible products or creating FMCG goods or whatever it is, services, is so important, because it keeps you motivated. It keeps you become the beneficiary. By doing good, you feel good. And I think it's so selfishly, I think it's one of the most important things, the business, for myself and for my own ego and for my own, because it keeps me power to do what I'm doing. And there's a mission beyond just, if something goes wrong with the product, I need to make bigger awareness on something. I would say I always tell companies, especially startups that come to me for advice, like try not to think of it as CSR, think of it as CSI. So what that means is it's not a responsibility, it's your intention. It's really about you. I don't want it to feel like it's someone's must, but it should be, if you organically, authentically believe in a cause, you should put all your intentions to that and make it happen. No one's telling you to do it, but I think you have to go in it with your own mission, because what we've noticed with our Fable Fund, where we're committed to helping, tigers in the wild and, conservation with wildlife, we don't often, we don't put it everywhere in the products. We don't put it out there in our marketing every single day. And not many people even congratulate or tell us much about it, but we're still doing every day a lot of stuff on it because we're doing it for the mission, not to sell products, not because it's our corporate responsibility to do it. And I think that really is so important for businesses to do. And I feel so passionate about that because I've been in corporate companies where they pay catch up or they do it on a marketing, that what can we do to give back, And one company I worked for, we did such a big initiative and then no one followed up with it. And I was like, what happened with that?
Why have we bothered? If you
like, did we even give the money? Do we even and that's why I felt like these are just boardroom decisions and not really intentional, heartfelt decisions. So yeah.
And tell us more about the Fable Mane Fund and why you've chosen the causes that you have.
Fable Fund basically is committed to helping wild tigers around the world. And the reason why we did this, so it's our logo of our products and packaging, but it's more than a logo. It's really everything we breathe and stand for. And the reason why is the tiger is known to be the most magnificent, regal creature, animal of India. And I think for us, from a childhood, we've always been enthralled by this, but also from our grandma's stories. The tiger was a prominent figure in those story time. Back in the reason why we were even more committed to really working with tigers is because we learned during our journey that there were 100,000 tigers in the wild. Now they're less than 4,000, and there are more tigers in the backyards of people's homes in Texas.
Oh my gosh!
So for us, it's like the numbers are, fortunately, some good news. The numbers are increasing, but the human wildlife conflict on the ground is growing, and we need to do something about it.
And lack of space.
So we're committed to helping tigers, but also big cats around the world. So from our recent trip to Namibia, inspired by the cheetahs. So we're on this mission. We've already started the journey. We've donated $100,000 to local charities. We've built solar fresh panel water holes for the tigers during drought seasons. We've given 200 ranger packs to, the essential equipment they need, the rangers, to do their job against against poachings. And we've also worked with education vans to basically go around local schools and educate children how to live in harmony and bring them to the forests and learn about tigers and why they're not a threat. And I think this is where we're lucky to work with local grassroots organizations and see the work with our own eyes and know where it's going, as opposed to work with a big company that we wouldn't have that visibility.
That was a really interesting conversation, and I'd love to hear more about it. But I feel like, moving forward and thinking about the brand, like, do you guys think we're now in a new wave of South Asian beauty adoption? And if not, what needs to happen? Like, what's your guys' point of view on that?
100%.
Definitely.
I mean, we were just in a lot of with AAPI month currently in America. We were in a lot of clubhouses and live streams and podcasts and everything with incredible South Asian founders, and we actually got to meet a lot more up and coming beauty brands, but also established brands that are getting a moment and finally getting the recognition that they need from the South Asian kind of descent, but also some visibility on brands that are South Asian that we didn't even know, so it's very interesting how we're very proud to be part of that family of beauty, Indian beauty kind of coming to the market, just as we also feel like K beauty is rising more and J beauty is rising more. And there's a lot more beauties that we need to get recognition, and I think this is where, from an Asian perspective, we're really proud to be on that journey.
Definitely. And from your guys' perspective, through that process, are there any other Asian beauty brands that you think that our audience should know about?
I'll say my personal favorite brand, just because I love the founders, is Sarah and Christine. They own a brand called Glow Recipe, which I think it's one of the like largest skincare brands right now, definitely having a huge moment thanks to TikTok. They focus on incredible skincare that's built with like kind of science. So you have the acids and the BHA and AHA, etc. But you have incredible fruits and vegetables, like ingredients like avocado, papaya, beautiful packaging, incredible formulas. And they just have the most incredible journey from starting on Shark Tank, which is like Dragon's Den equivalent, 7 years ago. Both left their jobs in L'Oreal and the corporate job. So to then start their business together, it's such a story that resonates with me because I was in that corporate job. We like LinkedIn, we did the hard way to get the retailers, and then working with my sister, they're working with as best friends. It's a very similar story. So, and they're they're a lot bigger, but they're very supportive of us and helping us and bringing us on that journey. So very, very happy with them.
I love Then I Met You, just from a branding point of view, which is rooted in Jeong in Korea. And I love Coffee Beauty, which is, I love the branding. And I love, which other ones? Touch Up. I love what they're doing with Japanese beauty and rituals. I think they're the pinnacle of rituals and what beauty should be.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've got some researching to be doing myself following this. But guys, one thing we always ask our guests is what is the one thing that you would love our listeners to take away from this episode? And because there's two of you, I'm going to ask both of you. So Akash, start with you. What would you like our listeners to take away?
I think my biggest thing I would love for you to take away is sort of know your why. And when you're, if you're a business owner particularly, or with anything you're doing in your company, corporation, make sure all your stakeholders and your team and your purpose, that conscious capitalist approach, fits to that why that you've created and tethers to that. That's your solar system, that's your sun, and make sure it's all going around it cohesively. If something is not aligning, get it out and bring it, because that's what's going to keep it intact and last for a long time.
Totally. And Nikki, how about you? What are your thoughts?
I would say just curated for edited, the know your purpose, and then like find the right retail partner to make it come true.
Totally. And I think you guys have had a fantastic experience, right, already with your retail partners. So I'm sure there's a lot that our listeners can take away from this episode. And thank you so much, both of you, for coming on and speaking to me. As a listener of ours, we're here to support you throughout 2021. If you're a customer of Edited, please contact your dedicated account manager and retail strategist, and they'll do everything they can to support you. For all of our listeners, ensure you are subscribed to our insider briefing. You can sign up at edited.com, where we'll be keeping you all updated on the latest news and strategies. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation with Akash and Nikki, please make sure you are subscribed to keep in the loop with future episodes. And we'd love it if you could tell your friends and family about us. And if you have any further questions, you can get in touch at unedited@edited.com or tweet us at edited_HQ. Goodbye.